Am I audible to everyone? I think we can start. So, am I audible to everyone? Please respond. Somebody.
Yes, sir.
Rian, am I audible? Am I audible? Please tell somebody. Or
Yes,
everything
sir.
is
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Okay. So, let's start then. Can you see my slides? Is it
Yes,
clear?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, let's start. So, last time what we are discussing? We are discussing about what are the different non-conventional sources of energy. So, the one topic is left in this regards, that is the nuclear energy. So there are two different type of uh, reaction, that is nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, from which we can extract our useful energy. So first we will discuss about what we know about nuclear fission. So in a process called nuclear fission, the nucleus of a heavy atom such as uranium, plutonium, or thorium, when bombarded with a low energy neutron, can be split apart into lighter nuclei. When this is done, a tremendous amount of energy is released. If the mass of the original nucleus is just a little more than the sum of the masses of individual protons, the fission of an atom of uranium, for example, produces 10 million times the energy produced by the combustion of an atom of carbon from coal. In a nuclear reactor designed for electric power generation, such as nuclear fuel, can be part of a self-sustaining fission chain reaction that releases energy at a controlled rate. The released energy can be used to produce steam and further generate electricity. So, what happens in nuclear uh, fission energy? So, we take a heavy nucleus, like you can see in this. So, in the figures, let's say we take a uh, atom of a uranium, that is uranium 235. This is a radioactive element. So its atomic number is 92 and atomic weight is 235. So what we do, we bombarded this uranium atom with a slow moving neutron. This is a neutron. So after uh, bombarding this uranium, so what will results? It will absorb this neutron. So the atomic weight increase by one. So during this process, the uranium uh, uranium atom splits apart into different elements. So one is the beryllium, and other is krypton. So in this process, three additional neutron is produced. Also, there is a tremendous amount of energy produced in this process. So if we compare this with the burning of coal, so it produces around 10 million times more energy as compared to burning of coal. So the main problem of nuclear fission is the availability of this radioactive element. So naturally, the radioactive element available in the earth crust is very rare. So also the ore that possesses the radioactivity, we have to extract this ore and we have to concentrate this ore to make this to use it uh, as a fuel. So one of the problem is using this uh, fuel is we have to concentrate enough so that this nuclear fission reaction can take place. So what happened after releasing these neutrons. So it will again strike one of the uranium-235 atom, and it will again split it into beryllium and krypton. So this process will goes on. This is a chain reaction process. So can anybody tell me what is the difference between this controlled reaction and uncontrolled nuclear reaction? So let me tell you. So in control reaction that we can use in our uh, nuclear energy plants. So what we do, we use the heavy water. It is deuterium as an absorber. If we allow this all three neutrons to bombard another uranium atom, so the energy it will produce, we cannot control this a huge amount of energy. So what we do, we will absorb these two additional neutron. So we only allow this only one neutron to go through and uh, uh, to produce this nuclear fission process. So, but in case of this nuclear bombs or all these things, so it is an uncontrolled reaction. So because of this, at a very small instant of time, a huge amount of energy is released. But during these nuclear reactors that we use, we only allow a small amount of neutron to go through in the process produce this nuclear energy. So next type of nuclear reaction is called nuclear fission reaction. So currently, all the commercial nuclear reactors are based on uh, nuclear fission energy. But there are another possibility of nuclear energy generation by a safer process called nuclear fusion. Fusion means joining the light nuclei to make heavier nucleus, most commonly hydrogen or hydrogen isotopes to create helium. So when you see this figure, so these are the two isotopes of a hydrogen. This uh, deuterium and tritium. So one of the main differences there. So here there is one proton and one neutron, but in tritium there are two neutrons. So the number of proton is same, but the number of neutron is different in these two isotopes. So when you fuse these two isotopes, so it will produce a heavier element, so that is helium. So in this heavier electrons, then it will again split apart to produce the helium atom and one neutron. So in this process, the huge amount of energy is released due to the difference of the masses. So if you add this uh, part of this is the deuterium tritium and also this helium and neutron, there is a mass imbalance. So this mass is reused as a energy. The energy we can this energy we can calculate it from this Einstein equation, that is that E is equal to mc square. So that can you tell me where you can find this nuclear fusion reaction? So this nuclear fusion reaction is the main source of the energy of our sun. So here in the core of the sun, so this hydrogen atoms fuses together to produce helium and neutron. So one of the difficulty of this nuclear fusion reaction. So this to takes place this nuclear fusion reactions, we need to uh, keep this state of matter at a very high pressure and temperature, which is not feasible in normal circumstances. That's why all our nuclear plants we are now having it's actually uses this nuclear fusion reaction, nuclear fusion. So I think this is it for this conventional and unconventional social energy. Next we will discuss about its environmental impact of different sources of energy. So first topic is energy and environment. Energy and environment has a strong relationship. The production and consumption of energy is one of the biggest cause of environmental damage. So it leads to large amount of destruction of natural landscape habitats for the process of fuel extraction, pollution of the soil, and climate change. So energy is at the heart of many world's current environmental problems and poses many problems in sustainable development. So you may heard of the term this global warming. So this is results of this excessive burning of this fuel or this fossil fuel. So due to this, the greenhouse gases are produced, and because of this, the heat that enters from the sun, it gets trapped inside this uh, Earth's atmospheres. Actually, these pollutants don't allow these heat to disperse in the universe again. So because of this, the temperature of the Earth is rising every year. So this is the one main causes of global warming. So what we can do about it? So we can normally in general by avoiding this fossil fuel or this type of energy, we can always use this renewable source of energy. So what do you mean by renewable source of energy? So renewable source of energy which is generated from nature. So that is sun, wind, rain, tides that can be generated again and again as one would require. So for this kind of energy, we don't have to uh, burn these fossil fuels or all these nuclear elements. So this kind of energy is available fully in nature. So we have to tap it appropriately and use it for our requirement. They are available in plenty and by far most cleanest source of energy available in planet. One of the advantages of using this renewable source of energy is it does not produce any byproducts. So because of this, there is um, deteriorating effect of pollution or any sort of problem. So renewable technologies are suited to large scale production, small off-grid applications. So nowadays we are actually moving from non-renewable source of energy to the renewable source of energy because of all these sorts of problems. So what are the main form of renewable source of energy? So some of the main source of renewable source of energies are this is wind energy, hydro energy, that is we have already discussed about the dams and all this tidal energy, um, and the energy that is source of the source is water. And also the one renewable energy is solar energy, also biofuel, geothermal energy. So these are the main form of renewable energy. So what are the advantages of using renewable energy? So one of the advantage of using the renewable energy is it is widely available. So this is the main actually the advantage of using renewable energy that it is available everywhere. So we don't have to pay anything to for this to use this kind of source of energy. So another advantage of renewable energy is lower energy cost. So this is solar energy, this is wind energy. They have very low operational costs. Apart from these fuels, fossil fuel based machines, so they have higher maintenance costs. Also, this is decentralized power production. So this is the one of another advantage of using renewable source of energy. Also, low in pollution. So most of the renewable energy does not have any uh, byproduct or the source of pollutions. Also available, these renewable sources are available for feasible future. So these sources of renewable energy are non-exhaustible. So it will be available also in future. So we can exhaust it or we cannot deplete it forever. So another one problem with this fossil fuels, it will going to last very few years in the future. So we have to move from non-renewable source of energy to renewable source of energy. So what are the also these source of energy also have some drawbacks. So there are few advantages of disadvantages of using renewable source of non-renewable source of energy. So that is one first disadvantage is unreliable. So let's say we need some renewable source of energy in some cases. So we have to rely on what are these environmental threat. So whether this place is windy or not, If it is not windy, we cannot generate wind energy. If the place does not have exposure to the solar energy, let's say Arctic. If you want to use the solar energy in Arctic, there are very few amount of sun rays uh, that is intersect in the polar region. So we cannot rely on the solar energy in this region. So we have to rely on where it is where it is feasible, where it is abundantly available. Only that place we can use this source of energy. Usually produced in small quantities, as I explained in the case of solar energy. The, the energy that produced by the single solar cell is very limited. So if we add this a large amount of solar cells together, then only then we can able to produce a sufficient energy that we can use it further. Often very difficult to store. One of the main problem of this source of energy, we cannot store it for future use. Uh, but nowadays there are some advancement that has been made in this battery. It is lithium ion battery, so that we can use some sort of energy to store it for future use. However, it is very difficult to store very large amount of energy. Also, this batteries has also some environmental concerns, and this also depletes over time. Their capacity also depletes over time. So there's a huge problem of storage of this energy. Currently, per unit cost of energy is cost of energy is more compared to the other types. So also the cost of energy, this type of energy is more due to this we need there is actually more technological advancement so that we can tap this source of energy economically. So these are the main disadvantages of renewable source of energy, renewable resources. I want to mention this another disadvantage of renewable resources, that is transportability. So unlike these fuels, that is fossil fuels, oils and gases, we can transport this one place to another very easily, but the transportation is another main factor in this renewable source of energy. We can produce it and use this source of energy when where this is produced. It is the location at where it is produced. It is very difficult to transport it. So non-renewable energy resources. A non-renewable energy resources is a natural resource that cannot be remade, regrown, or scale or at a scale comparable to the consumption. So once we use this source of energy, it is gone forever. So we cannot replenish this source of energy. So what are the different types of non-renewable sources of energy? These are nuclear energies, coal, petroleum gases, all other fossil fuel related products. So what is the advantage of using non-renewable source of energy? So availability in higher concentrated forms. As I mentioned, it is readily available. Say it is petrol, diesel, and gases. These are readily available in the market. Also, it is easy to use, and these are also reliable source of energy. So we are not in the mercy of nature to use this source of energy. So these sources of energies are stored and we can use it as per our need. Low cost per unit of energy produced as the technology is mature. So also the operation cost of these sources of energy is very low. So what are apart from this advantage, what are the disadvantages of using non-renewable resources? So when coal is burned, it produces carbon dioxide that causes global warming, as I explained earlier. So this source of energy also accompanied with different source of pollutants. So carbon dioxide is one major source of pollutant that is produced due to burning of coal. Since the coal contains impurities like sulfur and nitrogen, it produces toxic uh, gases during burning, which causes acid rain and air pollution. So these are the different consequences of using coal or petroleum product. So which cause acid rains and different air pollution problem. So another disadvantage is traces of mercury and radioactive compounds are also released when coal is burned, and different human health that is due to pollution. So we are having different health diseases. So lung cancer is the one of the prominent kind of health disease that we are experience these days. There is a need to develop renewable sources which are available and could be utilized, or uh, source whose it is created and utilized. The main renewable source for India are wind, hydel, waste, biomass. Biomass are resources which are agriculture related like food, biogas, cow dung, seeds that I have already explained in the earlier classes. So now we are going to discuss what are the different potentials of how much energy we can produce for this renewable source of energy. What are the potential of India in renewable sources of energy? So India has a total hydro energy potential of 1.5 lakh megawatt, of which only about 20% is installed. So we have a very large capacity of hydropower energy, but the 20% of this energy we can able to tap right now. So small hydro plant potential is about 15,000 megawatt. Most of it is in northern and eastern India. So to produce this kind of energy, we need to store this energy, or we need some high amount of rainfall and and, and the rivers. So the Northeast is the major source of this kind of energy. You may have said there are several hydropower plants that has been running in Uttar Pradesh. So that's why this called this hub of India. So another sources is wind energy. So the wind power potential of India is about 45,000 megawatt, out of which the capacity 8,748 megawatt has been stored in India till 2008. So as you can see, we have very huge uh, potential of wind energy, but only 8,000, roughly about 9,000 megawatt has been stored in India till 2008. India is one of the leading countries in international power through Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, are the states having more than 5,000 megawatt potential each. This potential could be improved if the technology of putting turbines in sea is used. There are wind farms with the sea generation as high as 160 megawatt of power. So mainly what we do, we install these wind farms near the seasides or the to where there is an abundance of breezes, wind and breezes. So also there is one advantage of installing this wind farm. There is seashore instance. It is also readily accessible, and also there is a constant uh, source of wind that is available all around the world. So that's why these countries has a very huge amount of these coastal areas. That's why this most of the wind generation farms, that is wind farms, are available in these states. So biomass, biomass energy. Biomass is the oldest means of energy used by humans along with solar energy. As soon as the fire was discovered, it was used widely and mainly for heat and light. Fire was generated using leaves, which is basically a biomass. The biomass could be used to generate steam, power, or used as a fuel. Power is generated using grass husk in Andhra Pradesh, while several uh, bagasse-based plants are there. India has a potential of 3,500 megawatts of biogases. Organic waste such as dead plants, animal materials, animal dung, kitchen waste can be converted by anaerobic digestion and fermentation into a gaseous fuel called biogas. I have explained in the last class how we can produce this gobar gas or biogas, the biogas plant. So biogas is a mixture of 65% methane, 35% carbon dioxide, and may have small amount of hydrogen sulfide, moisture, and uh, siloxane. It is a renewable energy result of biomass. So this biomass is readily available in nature and it will replenish by nature itself. So this is the one kind of renewable energy. Biogas can be used as a fuel in any country for heating purposes, such as cooking. It can also be used in anaerobic digester where it is typically used in a gas engine to convert energy in the gas into electricity and heat. Biogas can be compressed and much like natural gas and used to power motor vehicles. So instead of this natural gas, we can always use this biogas to put in our motor vehicle. So the advantage is that this is the renewable source of energy and it does not produce that much pollution. Biofuel. India has more than 50 million hectares of wasteland which could be utilized for cultivation of fuel plants. Jatropha is the one of the option which can be planted on arid lands uh, and be used for production of biofuels. So there are several that is initiative that is taken by Indian government to use this Jatropha, or there are several plants also available which use this sugar cane to produce this biofuels. So this is the one of the sources of renewable energy. So government has taken much initiative using this sugarcane jatropha or these products to convert it into biofuel. And the last source is this is solar energy. India being the tropical country has the potential to use the solar energy on commercial basis. According to the estimate, 35 megawatt of power could be generated from 1 square kilometer. With such potential, solar energy might rise future as energy source for development of the country. Initial cost is biggest limitation that has led low realization of its potential. For solar energy to become one of the front-runner, it will require a lot of research, cheap technology, low capital. So why this solar energy is very much efficient in the case of India? So since you know that this India is a tropical country, so we receive much more solar radiation as compared to this polar region or this other region. So that's why we can tap this solar energy to produce electricity. Also, it has a very high potential. That is, you can see that is 35 megawatt of power can be generated. So one of the limitation we cannot utilize this energy. That is the very high initial cost. So to establish a solar energy place, so we have to invest a lot of energy to install these solar cells in solar plates, which uh, because of this high initial cost. So this is not widely used in our household. But nowadays, this is cheaper solar energy cells are available in the market and people are using it for their household purposes. So for this, we need more research and cheap technology so that we can invest a low capital and produce a high amount of energy. So I think this is it for today's class. So please put your attendance in the chat. So we will meet in the next class. Thank you. Please put your attendance in the chat box and leave the lobby.